Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into the epic history of the United Kingdom. It's an absolutely incredible story of transformation that stretches back thousands of years.
So, the big question is, how did this one island, an island the Romans weren't even sure was real, end up becoming a global superpower? And how has it managed to reinvent itself again and again? Well, let's get into it. All right, here's our roadmap. We're going to journey through 5 key eras that really forged the UK's identity. We'll start with its Roman foundations, move through centuries of invasions, the struggle for power, then the rise of a globe-spanning empire, and finally, its search for a new role in our modern world. So, let's wind the clock all the way back. I'm talking way, way back, to a time long before the first Roman legion ever set foot on these shores. I mean, just look at this timeline. The depth of history here is staggering. We're talking evidence of ancient life nearly 1,000,000 years ago. For ages, early humans hunted, farmed, and eventually built these incredible monuments like Stonehenge. But then, see that last date, 55 BC? A new force was on the horizon, and it was about to change absolutely everything. The Roman arrival, wow, it was a total game changer. Before, you had scattered tribes of farmers. After, you have this organized, centralized Roman province. They brought roads, cities, like London, or Londinium as they called it, and even currency. This wasn't just a conquest. It was a complete rewiring of society that laid the very first foundations for the nation we know today. So, the Romans eventually leave, right? And what happens next? Well, Britain enters this whole new phase, one that's basically defined by wave after wave of new people showing up.
After the Romans, you get the Anglo-Saxons, and they set up the first English kingdoms. Then come the Vikings. They didn't just raid, many of them stayed and settled, creating this huge area called the Danelaw, where their laws and customs ruled. And finally, the big one, the Normans in 1066. The crucial thing to get here is that each group didn't just conquer the last one, they added their own layer of culture, language, and DNA to the mix. And you can actually see this legacy in the words we use every single day. I mean, look at this list. Sky, law, husband, egg, even Thursday, literally Thorsday, comes straight from the Vikings. It's such a brilliant reminder that history isn't just some dusty thing in a book. It's right here in the way we talk.
Okay, so now we're heading into the Middle Ages, and let me tell you, this was a seriously chaotic time filled with civil war, plague, and the very first cracks in the idea of a king's absolute power. Now, this document, the Magna Carta, this was a huge deal. You have to remember, at the time, kings were seen as being above the law, chosen by God. This charter, forced on King John by his angry barons, said nope. For the first time, it put into writing that everybody, and that includes the king, was subject to the law, a pretty radical idea that would become a cornerstone of modern democracy. Then, an almost unimaginable catastrophe strikes, the Black Plague. It's estimated to have killed 1.5 million people in Britain. That's nearly half the entire population. It's just horrific. But out of that devastation came this massive social shift. Suddenly, workers were scarce, and the surviving peasants found they had way more power than ever before. Okay, so after centuries of basically fighting itself, Britain's focus begins to shift. It stops looking inward and starts looking outward. And when I say outward, I mean to the rest of the world. And it's kind of wild how it all started. A king's personal crisis, his desperate need for a son, actually sparked a national revolution. Henry VIII's break from the Catholic Church didn't just get him a new wife, it created the Church of England and completely reshaped the country's religious and political identity forever. Next up, a totally different kind of revolution, an industrial one. And it was all fueled by one thing, coal. Britain had tons of it, and it powered the factories, the steam engines, and the railways that just made the economy explode. I mean, look at how much that number jumps in just a few decades. This is what turned Britain into an economic powerhouse. So all that industrial strength and economic might, it was projected across the entire planet. With a powerful navy, Britain built the largest empire in human history, an empire so vast that it was famously said the sun never set on it. But here's the thing about empires. They don't last forever. And the 20th century would force Britain to figure out a whole new place for itself in a rapidly changing world. And what a century of change it was. Just look at this timeline. 2 devastating world wars, the creation of modern institutions like the National Health Service, but also the end of the empire, which really kicked off with India's independence. All of this led to a new, sometimes tricky relationship with Europe, culminating, of course, with the vote for Brexit in 2016.
Through all of this turbulence, though, one figure was a remarkable constant: Queen Elizabeth II. Her reign of over 70 years was this incredible thread of continuity that ran through one of the most transformative periods in the nation's entire history, all the way from post-war Britain to the Internet age.
So, after all that, centuries of invasion, civil war, empire, and constant reinvention, what comes next? If there's one thing this long story teaches us, it's that the only constant is change. It really makes you wonder what the future holds for this historic island nation.